I'm fascinated by the fact that you've called your business About Change Conversations, because a pure strategist isn't always sitting comfortably with change, because a strategist likes to see the patterns, likes to see how things are evolving and what's next. But of course, change means that you don't really know what's next, but you have to work out how you can get comfortable with it and accept it and then move on. What we saw in your profile, though, was a whole load of energy also in Game Changer and Polisher on the creative side of the model, if you like, as opposed to the pragmatic side. And so you're really keen to embrace new ideas. And tell us about your podcast, because I mean that's you embracing new technology and seeing how it can incrementally improve your business. So how are you using it, and why did you set it up?
The podcast literally became it's a passion project more than anything. So for me, I look back in my life and now I understand why I went through the change and the transitions that I did. Because now there's a sense of comfort with my own story when I tell people that it's possible to change careers. I'm the example of that, right? They mustn't look too far. I'm an example. So there's hindsight for me with how I've embraced change and how I've always seen opportunities than fear within changing and possibilities. And I think for me, as you say, the strategist part is also just seeing possibilities and also understanding that there could be failure, but not focusing on that, focusing on what could be the opportunities and the possibilities that can then help you to achieve that vision that you're putting in front of you. So I think that's the one part. The other part is I love having conversations with people. I'm not too introverted, but when I create relationships matter to me. And having to meet new people where I can have conversations that matter and conversations that can change somebody else's life, that for me, it becomes the big thing. So I always say, even if one person takes something out of the conversation that I've had with a guest out of my podcast, that is important. And the other part is also talking about how other people have also embraced change and what has that looked like for them. So I look at conversations about stuff that happens in the workplace, and how we can impact somebody within their workplace, how we can also impact somebody who's transitioned out of the workplace into entrepreneurship, because that's the space that I'm in. And in fact, in my family, a few people are within the entrepreneurship space. So that to me matters. And the other element that I look at, which we were having a conversation about, which is also just a personal project of mine, is how can I get people to think about creating generational wealth? And for me, it's about changing the generational story, and mainly within the Black communities. What can that look like? Because we are all a generation that feels like we're starting from scratch. And I think for me, the biggest thing is, how can I make my children not have to struggle, and hope they also keep that mentality. So at the moment, I'm conscious about teaching my kids about money and wealth, because I made so many mistakes, but I don't look at them as mistakes. I actually look at them, there's a learning, right? There's a learning that I've had to do, and I want for them to start at a different level, because they mustn't repeat. They say repeating those generational mistakes, for me, is like, no, I can do better. How can I do better from that perspective?
I think that's wonderful, because you're absolutely right. If we don't teach our kids this stuff, then they're going to make the same mistakes that we made. But knowledge, a small bit of knowledge can go an awful long way in that area. So it's wonderful the work you're doing there.